Hello, everyone. Welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host, Liam, aka Hembar, and today I am giving you another weekly update. This is Liam's Leapings number 38 for the 6th of May, 2023. So happy May, everyone. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather, so I found I sound a little stuffy, I'm sure. I did get a new camera, so hopefully that is working okay. I also got a new bookshelf in the back. See this one? I reorganized all my books, and I still need about three more bookcases if I wanted to fit all the books I have. Single with one layer. As of right now, they're all double layered. So this bookcase has, if I'm remembering correctly, it has from B, the end of my B's, last name of the author, down to E, the start of E, and then it also has the end of M all the way down to the beginning of S. So there's a lot of books on there, and yeah. So, anyways, I did do some decent reading this week. Hopefully, my camera is being funny here. All right. Anyways, so yeah, so I did some decent reading this week. Not as much as I would have liked. I have, like I said, I've been sick since Monday, so I got a bunch of good reading done at the beginning of the week, but really since the middle, I just almost none. So, I did read Evil Honey and Old Moon, quarterly volume, whatever, 3. This is very fun. That's a story by James Inga. I am going to be doing a review of this issue. I did get asked by Old Moon to review this issue. I've previously talked about issues 1 and 2 on this channel, but only in my weekly updates. I generally don't review magazines. I've done a couple, and issue 3 is when they first became like professional rates, have professional rates for this magazine. It's a magazine, really. So, but I enjoyed story 1. I'd like to be able to finish it next week. We'll see if that happens, just because of my reading being all over the place. And my writing has been even more spottier this week, so I don't really have much to update you on this week. But the second novel, actually, no, it's the third novel I finished, but it's just on the top of the stack here, so I'll mention it first. Excuse me. It was Troy Denning's The Parched Sea. I was like, it's been a minute since I have been in the Forgotten Realms, so I'm going to read one. And this is not bad. In fact, I believe this might have been Denning's first Forgotten Realms novel. I wouldn't be surprised if this was inspired by, or maybe the inspiration for, in some part, for The Dark Sun setting, which I believe was created around this time, and Denning was like the creator for that. And that is a desert setting. The Parched Sea takes place in a desert, Anarach. And this came out in 91 and is the first in the Harper series. It introduces character Ruha, who is a character in the 5th Avatar book, which I really liked. And I liked her in that book. This is like an introduction to her. She is in, well, a lot of Denning's other Forgotten Realms novels, but particularly The Veiled Dragon, which might be the next Realms novel I read. And that's also part of the Harpers. But the Harpers is like super loosely connected, which there's a lot of those series in the Forgotten Realms. And so The Veiled Dragon is like book 9 in the Harpers. No, it's book 12. And I don't think you have to read 2 to 11 to read number 12, right? So the first book I actually finished this week, though, was The Wooden Sword. I think I was about halfway done when I mentioned this one last week. It's by Lynn Abbey. It's first in a duology. It's quite fun. I really liked it. It's definitely not, I don't want to say it's a tragedy, but it's definitely not it's not what I expected, so it's probably not what most would expect going into fantasy. Most people, when they go into fantasy, they expect epic fantasy. Maybe on occasions they expect heroic fantasy, and this is neither of those. I guess to go even further, sometimes people expect sword and sorcery, and it's not that either. Just kind of its own thing, which is kind of cool. I like Abby as a writer. I technically, I didn't bring my copy, but I technically am. I did start the second book in this series. I got really into this, actually. I was about halfway done, and then I read like the next half in one sitting, um, which I haven't done in a minute. So I did start the next one, Beneath the Web, which looks a lot cleaner than this book. This book just looks a little messy to me. Beneath the Web has some Donato Giancola art, cover art. Actually, I have it signed by him and by Abby, and it just looks a lot neater. Just the layout of the book. It's also a little longer. It's closer to an average length of a fantasy novel, at least for that time as well. So, yeah. And then one book well, I guess I probably mentioned this one first. I finished Midnight Tides. I finished this Monday. Um, I didn't have much to read left on Monday, so I started Friday, almost finished it Sunday. Um, I think it might be it's one of the shortest Book of the Malazan Book of the Fallen books. I don't know if it's shorter than, I don't know exactly the length on Gardens of the Moon or Dead House Gates, but it's shorter than like the rest, I think. It's very different from the first four books, but it's very good. I mean, because I went from House of Chains. I read Shadow Games in between that before starting Midnight Tides, because I mentioned this last week, if you remember. Um, and this was awesome. This was really fun. I liked reading this one. And I do have a copy of Bone Hunters. But before going to Bone Hunters, I decided I'd read Knight of Knives first. Now, I could have finished this one. It has not been nearly as gripping as Midnight Tides or House of Chains or any of the other ones by Erickson. I mean, it's not bad. It really isn't bad at all, actually. Just something about it hasn't been very gripping. Um, in fact, that might just be the way it's plotted, because it's in some ways it's plotted like it's, you know how these books by Erickson are like, there's four books in one. In a lot of ways, sometimes those books work as like a separate novel type of thing. It's basically book one of a Erickson book or something like that that doesn't actually have any other books. Though I believe the main characters in this, Kiska and Temper, are some of the characters in the Bone Hunters, which is why I wanted to read it here. And it's really short. So I believe this is also by far the shortest of the Esselmont books, though. So I am enjoying it, though. It has some cool stuff for sure. It just hasn't been as gripping, is really what it is. But I will almost certainly finish that this week. The other book I'm reading is The Circumference of the World by Lavi Tidar. I've kind of petered out with this one. It's the same problem I had with Kill Switch a few weeks ago, and same problem with The Way of a Dawn a few weeks before that, actually. Which is to say, I'm really enjoying reading them. I'm just having a hard time finding time to read them. Like The Way of a Dawn, like I'm generally, or recently I haven't been big into epic fantasy. Malazan is very different, and so it works for me for epic fantasy right now. Kill Switch was because I was in a cyberpunk mood. I'm not huge into the cyberpunk mood anymore. And then The Circumference of the World is actually largely not just because the book's problem at all or any taste thing, is that I just haven't felt like reading on my Kindle. And it's an ARC, not a physical one. I don't know if I gotten one physical ARC actually as a Gurzel, but I think that's it. So and so I haven't continued. But hopefully I will find the time to just take just like one or maybe two, one long reading session, and then maybe two like decently long reading sessions, and then finish it, because I easily could. I am enjoying it. It's pretty wild. It's really great. I'll have a lot of thoughts when I'm done with it. But anyways, I guess I have a couple books. I got actually a decent amount of books this week for like stuff for school and other things, but I thought the most exciting ones are the ones I'd mention. I did get copies of Reaper's Gale. Actually really cheap. The cheapest copy I could find was this one. It's not in like the best shape, but a lot of my Malazan books are actually in about this shape, which is not bad, just not really great. But it's not what I would call bad at all. And I've done this a lot actually on eBay, and this is something for those who want to find used books, especially when those out of print, right? You basically have to find them used. Is sometimes people will sell batches of books, and it's cheaper to buy the batches of books, even if there are other books you don't want or already have. Like, for example, this came with books I already have, and it was cheaper for me to buy like 4 books I already had to get this book than it was just to buy this book by itself, which is ridiculous and shouldn't be the case, but it was, right? And that's happened to me before on eBay. But I'm generally pretty successful when it comes to shopping on eBay. And then similarly, I also found a copy of Toll the House. This one's actually hardcover, and it's not book club addiction. No one is addicted to book club editions. Well, maybe someone is, but I'm not. So the only other hardcover I have of Malazan is Gardens of the Moon, which seems decently easy to get. The rest are like almost they're ridiculously priced normally. But I found this very nice condition of Toll the Hounds. So, and it was cheap. It was cheaper than the stinking trade paperbacks. And again, it's just like you just have to find it. You just gotta look. And they're out there. They're not always out there, right? But if you just look another time, they're you'll find it eventually, generally speaking. Um, so yeah. So this looks great, actually, Toll the Hounds. This is really nice condition. So happy to have that. I believe that's the last of the Malazan Book of the Fallen books that look like that, and then the rest have that. Is it like that newer Tor style, which I'm not a big fan of, but like I know Dust of Dreams and the Crippled God will not match the rest of my books, but they'll probably match all the other ones I have, like the Esselmont books and all the later Erickson stuff too after Book of the Fallen. But whatever, I've been talking too long. Yeah, what have you all been reading this week? What are you up to? I might change my angle. This is a little high, I feel like, but it's not bad, I guess. There's been Liam with Liam's Lyceum. I will catch you next time.